Chapter 1. You know that feeling when you think your biggest problem is a rich bully and algebra homework? Yeah, I miss those days. My name is Bella Chen, and I used to be what people called a straight A student, which is just a fancy way of saying I had no social life and really liked checking off boxes. My parents owned a small restaurant in J City, the kind of place where the regulars knew your name and the steam from dumplings fogged up the windows every morning. Dad delivered orders on his ancient bicycle, Mom ruled the kitchen with an iron spatula, and I tutored bratty rich kids to help pay the bills. I was 16, a scholarship kid at the most expensive private school in the city, and about as popular as a wet mop. The other students? Their families owned buildings. Mine owned a walk. Chloe Zhang was the worst of them. Trust fund princess with a chip on her shoulder the size of her father's bank account. Her parents kept telling her to be more like Bella, study harder, party less, maybe actually show up to class sober. So naturally, she hated my guts. The irony? I once offered to study with her. Genuinely. I thought maybe we could be friends. She thought I was mocking her. After that, the bullying got creative. Gum in my hair, accidentally spilled drinks on my only good backpack, whispers that somehow got louder when I walked by. But I didn't have time for drama. I had a dream. Expand our little restaurant into something bigger, something that could give my parents the life they deserved. Business-minded at 16. Yeah, I was fun at parties. Not that I went to any. Chapter 2. It happened on a Tuesday. I was walking home from school, taking the long route to avoid Chloe and her giggling entourage, when I saw her, an old woman sitting behind a tiny stall, selling trinkets that looked like they'd been pulled from someone's dusty attic. Earrings, bracelets, pendants, all spread out on a faded cloth. The weird part? Everyone walked past her like she was invisible, like she literally wasn't there. I tried to do the same, but then she called out, her voice crackling like old paper. "Young lady, please buy something from me. I haven't eaten for 3 days." My feet stopped. Traitor feet. "Grandma, I don't have much money," I said, already knowing I was going to regret this. "I'm just a poor student. Maybe ask someone else?" Her eyes, God, her eyes were ancient, fixed on me. "A young girl like you should have this jade bracelet. This clear jade will keep you safe. $5, just 5. I had $10 to my name. That $10 was supposed to last me 7 more days until I got paid for tutoring. 7 days of lunch money. But she looked so frail. I paid her the $5 and took the bracelet. It was beautiful, honestly. Clear as water, cool against my skin. Then, because apparently I'm incapable of self-preservation, I handed her the steamed bun I'd been saving for dinner. Her face lit up like I'd given her the world. Here, pressed a crystal pendant into my palm. For good luck, keep it close. I blinked, and she was gone. Not walked away, gone. The stall, the trinkets, everything just vanished. I stood there like an idiot, holding a jade bracelet and a crystal pendant, wondering if I'd just been scammed by a ghost. Spoiler alert, I hadn't been scammed. I'd been drafted. Chapter 3. 3 months later, the hurricane hit. Then the black rain. Then the tornado. We thought we'd survive the worst Mother Nature could throw at us. We were so wrong. The fever started spreading 2 days after the storms cleared. People would spike temperatures of 105, 106 degrees, then collapse into comas. 3 days, like clockwork. No medicine worked. Their bodies started decomposing while their hearts still beat. Skin peeling, flesh graying, the smell of rot creeping through hospital corridors. I remember reading a post on Reddit before the internet died completely. Some girl trapped in her VIP hospital room wrote, Day 3. My roommate hasn't woken up. Her skin is turning black around her fingernails. It's spreading. The doctors stopped coming to check on us. I can hear screaming from other floors. Something is very, very wrong. The smell is everywhere now. I've locked my door. I put a chair under the handle. Her eyes just opened. They're not her eyes anymore. They're milky white, and she's looking at me. And oh God, she's getting up. That was the last post anyone saw from her. The patients woke up. All of them, simultaneously, like some cosmic alarm clock had gone off. And they were hungry. They attacked everyone. Doctors, nurses, family members waiting by bedsides. Anyone who was bitten or scratched would turn within hours. The infection spread like wildfire through gasoline. We called them zombies because our brains couldn't process any other word for what they'd become. Rotting, shambling corpses with an endless appetite for human flesh. The world didn't end with a bang. It ended with a bite. Chapter 4. My family made it to the nearest shelter, a repurposed stadium guarded by what remained of the military. For 6 months, we lived like rats in a cage, rationed food that got smaller every week, the constant smell of too many unwashed bodies, the sound of zombies throwing themselves against the barriers every night. Then, some people started developing powers. 5 elements: fire, metal, earth, wind, water. Like the universe decided to make things interesting. Some of the powered individuals formed rescue groups. Others formed gangs. The gangs won. The New Order gang, led by a psychopath named Hank, who'd apparently walked out of prison when the world collapsed, started taking over shelters. They killed civilians like it were a sport, killed military personnel, killed anyone who said no to them. When they attacked our shelter, we ran. My parents and I fled into the mountains, running until our lungs burned and our legs screamed. We thought we'd made it. Then Mom collapsed, blood seeping through her shirt from a wound I hadn't even seen her take. Dad and I knelt beside her, and I felt hope die in my chest. I clutched the crystal pendant and jade bracelet, stupid trinkets from a ghost woman, and thought, this is it. This is how we die. My blood dripped onto the pendant. The bracelet seemed to drink it in, greedy. Then the world turned inside out. A vast emptiness swallowed us whole, and suddenly we were kneeling in a place that shouldn't exist. White light everywhere, a landscape that stretched forever, and a blue holographic screen floating in front of my face. "Welcome, Master." My parents started begging, actual begging, on their knees, clutching each other. "Please don't hurt my daughter. Please don't hurt us." I was hugging them, crying too hard to speak. The screen waited politely for 2 whole minutes before speaking again. Master Bella, I am Archie, Psyche, Infinity, number sign XI, Theta, Delta, Phi. You may give me a name for convenience. This space is yours and belongs to those you approve. I am currently level 1. You need to hunt necrosis thanatos pathogen carriers and collect their core crystals for me to upgrade. I wiped my nose on my sleeve. Elegant. So you're like those systems from the web novels my friends used to read? An accurate comparison. And this space is... This space defies the physics of your world. Perishable food will not decay. Supplies, once cataloged, will regenerate infinitely. Fields will remain perpetually fertile. Animals brought here will live as long as you wish, free from disease. However, all systems require energy. I need core crystals from necrosis thanatos pathogen carriers to function. My brain was struggling to catch up. Can I call you Cody? And the virus carriers? You mean the zombies? Cody is acceptable. Yes, zombies possess core crystals within their cranial cavity, specifically lodged in the pineal gland region. Strike the head to kill them efficiently and preserve the crystal for extraction. I'm 17 years old. I don't have superpowers. Actually, you do. Did you not notice anything different when fighting zombies earlier? Do you still possess the clear crystal pendant? I froze. How do you know about that? Did you bind it with your blood? Yeah, it practically drained me dry. I almost passed out. Can you kiss it? What? Why? Okay, whatever. I pressed my lips to the glowing pendant, feeling absolutely ridiculous. The pendant vibrated with what I could only describe as joy, then burst into white light. A crystal white furry creature materialized, then slowly transformed into a man. A devastatingly handsome man with 2 fox ears and 9 fluffy white tails fanning behind him, fully clothed in traditional robes that looked like they cost more than my family's restaurant. My parents stared. I stared. My mouth literally hung open. The foxman bowed deeply, gracefully. "Master, thank you for waking me and for the kiss. I vow to protect you for your lifetime." I found my voice. It came out as a shriek. What? Was the pendant a man? You pervert! Were you awake the whole time? I just turned 17 last week. I don't care how handsome you are. You said you were sleeping. Why didn't you say something? His expression remained serene, though I swear I saw amusement flicker in his eyes. "Master, I sincerely apologize for any distress. I was genuinely asleep. A witch's curse bound me. Only a maiden's kiss could break it. Now that I'm awake, you need not worry. I will move heaven and earth to fulfill your every wish." I rubbed my face. This was my life now. Zombie apocalypse and a magical Fox Butler. Just call me Bella, no master stuff. And if you're going to help, can you please make those ears and tails invisible? People will try to hurt you. He took my hand and kissed it, sending a weird flutter through my stomach that I absolutely did not have time to analyze. "As you wish, Master Bella." The ears and tails vanished, leaving him looking like an exceptionally attractive human man with absolutely no sense of personal space. Chapter 6. After Cody, the system, not the fox, sent us back outside the space, I noticed the Jade Bracelet had become a tattoo on my left wrist, and the pendant shape marked my chest like a brand. The space has a cool-down period, 24 hours before next access. My mom was still hurt, Dad looked half dead from exhaustion, and the fox, who'd introduced himself as Nix during our brief time in the space, handed me an empty bottle. "Fill this bottle with the spring water you saw in the space. It has healing properties. Level 1 potency now, but it will grow stronger as the space upgrades." I did as he said, and we gave Mom the water to drink. Dad poured some on her wound. The gash closed, just sealed itself as it had never been there. We all cried a little. Don't judge us. "We tell no one about this," Dad said firmly. "No one." "Obviously," I agreed. We made camp in the mountain jungle, if you could call a torn tarp and some rocks camp. Dad wanted to keep watch. Mom insisted on shifts, and I was too wired to sleep anyway. Then Nix disappeared, just walked into the forest and vanished. I wanted to go into the space to hide, but Cody cheerfully informed me about the 24-hour lockout. So we sat there, exhausted and terrified, listening to every snap of a twig and rustle of leaves. Nix returned at dawn, looking completely unbothered, and pulled out a pouch that shouldn't have fit in his robes. He dumped over 100 crystal cores on the ground. They glowed like stars. "How the hell did you get all of those?" I demanded. He smiled, actually smiled, and produced 2 bags of rice and several packs of compressed biscuits. I took the liberty of gathering supplies. I forgot to be angry. We stored the rice in the space and devoured the biscuits like they were gourmet meals, because at that point, they basically were. "I need to rest," Nick said, and before I could ask where, he transformed into light and sank into the pendant tattoo on my chest. My chest immediately felt warmer. "Is my chest your home now?" I asked the empty air. His voice resonated from within, amused and drowsy. "Yes, Master, I merely need rest. I've cast protective and invisibility spells around our camp. No wild animals, corrupted humans, or other threats will find or hear us. Please rest assured." That's actually really useful. Thank you. You're welcome, Master Bella. We slept like the dead, ironic considering the circumstances. The protective barrier worked perfectly. Not even mosquitoes bothered us. When I woke, Mom was already planning. "Sweetie, we need pots and firewood, some proper cooking equipment. I'm not serving my family compressed biscuits if I can help it." I loved my mother so much. Chapter 7. The nearest shopping mall had been abandoned even before the outbreak. Too many robberies had turned it into a ghost town. But desperate times and all that. We found zombies instead of supplies. Of course we did. My parents immediately moved to shield me, but Nix gently pushed us all behind him with one hand. He looked at me, his expression serious. "Master, please watch and learn." Then he moved. I'd seen martial arts movies. I'd watched anime. Nothing prepared me for the reality of watching Nix fight. He was liquid death, flowing through the horde of 150-plus zombies like water through cracks. Single strikes separated heads from bodies with surgical precision. When he finished, and it took maybe 3 minutes, he gestured lazily and all the crystal cores floated to his hand in a glowing stream. "Whoa!" I finally managed. "Are you from a Chinese drama? That was so cool." I paused, replaying his earlier words. "Wait, you said watch and learn. You can't possibly mean I can do the same thing, right?" I laughed nervously. He bowed. "Yes, Master, your power can be upgraded infinitely, even to a god's level, but you need practice." "No way, you're lying, right?" "No, Master, you will see soon enough." Spoiler, he wasn't lying. We ventured deeper into the mall. Nix cleared each floor like a supernatural exterminator, and we scrounged for supplies. We found broken pots, matches, gas lights, good quality cookware buried under dust. I swiped it all into my space with a thought. Turned out the space responded to mental commands, which was convenient. On the 3rd floor, we discovered clothes covered in spiderwebs, cold weather jackets, fishing nets, some broken but functional vases, and travel bags. Then I noticed a massive concrete slab covering part of a counter. "Nix, can you lift that?" He did, effortlessly. Underneath, seed packets. Dozens of them. My heart actually skipped a beat. Vegetable seeds, fruit seeds, expensive varieties I'd only seen in imported food sections. Avocado, rambutan, lychee, mango, jackfruit, peaches, guavas, olives, apricots, plums, cherries, watermelon, kiwi, strawberries, pomegranates, papayas. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, eggplant, okra, peas, beans, corn. I may have made a sound that wasn't entirely dignified. I scooped every single packet into the space while Nix watched with an expression I couldn't quite read. Later, I'd realize he was memorizing what made me happy, but right then I was too busy hyperventilating over heirloom tomato seeds to notice. My parents found survival tools, 5 tents, and an entire floor of beauty products that Mom insisted we collect. "Liza, we're in an apocalypse," Dad said, exasperated. "Do we really need face cream?" "Mark Chen, just because the world ended doesn't mean we have to look like we crawled out of a grave," Mom shot back, her hands already full of products. "Besides, these can be traded. People will pay good money for normalcy. Dad blinked. That's actually brilliant. I married you for your muscles, dear, not your business sense, Mom said sweetly, kissing his cheek. I snorted. My parents were ridiculous, and I loved them. Each floor had roughly 100 zombies. Nix dispatched them all. Maybe everyone who came for supplies got turned, Mom said quietly, looking at a zombie that still wore a shopping mall employee vest. We cleared a staff room, set up camp, and cooked instant noodles on a portable burner we'd found. I cried actual tears of joy at the taste of artificial chicken flavoring. We also tried some self-heating meals from the camping section. They were lukewarm at best and tasted like cardboard, but we were grateful anyway. The next day, Nix took me aside for training. I'm going to teach you to fight, he said. I'm going to die, I replied. Unlikely. I'll be supervising. He was patient, I'll give him that. Showed me how to channel energy, how to move efficiently, and how to strike without hesitation. After an hour, I could kind of destroy a practice dummy without falling over. Progress. Chapter 8. Once we could access the space again, we brought my parents inside and spent the entire 8-hour allowance planting seeds. We labeled each section carefully, organized by type, and then fed all the core crystals Nix had collected to Cody. The system was promptly upgraded to level 5. The seeds sprouted instantly, then grew into seedlings, then mature trees and plants all within 5 minutes. We had an orchard, a full producing orchard. I picked a mango, bit into it, and nearly wept. It was perfect, sweet, juicy, better than anything I'd ever tasted before. Mom and Dad tried apples. Nix took a mango, sniffed it carefully with a critical expression, then took a small bite. His eyes widened fractionally. For him, that was equivalent to a standing ovation. High quality, he said simply, and continued eating. I made a mental note. Nix had refined tastes and only ate premium food. The space-grown fruits apparently met his standards. At level 5, we could stay in the space for 8 hours at a time. We used every minute, tending plants, organizing supplies, planning our next moves. When we emerged, we'd changed clothes, eaten well, and looked healthier than we had in months. The transformation was dangerous. Looking well-fed in the apocalypse made you a target. But we had work to do. Chapter 9. Over the next 6 months, we systematically cleared zombies from small colonies to the entire north side of the city. But those 6 months, they changed me. Month 1. Learning to not die. Your stance is terrible, Nick said, watching me struggle with a practice sword. Your face is terrible, I gasped, completely winded. Dad laughed from where he was sharpening knives. She gets that attitude from you, Liza. Damn right she does, Mom called from the makeshift kitchen where she was experimenting with space-grown vegetables. Mark, come taste this. Does this need more salt? Nix made me run drills until my legs felt like jelly, taught me to sense zombies before seeing them. Their energy signature felt wrong, like static electricity mixed with decay. I threw up the first time I successfully killed a zombie on my own. The second time was easier. The third time, I didn't hesitate. Good, Nix said quietly. But don't lose your compassion. The day killing becomes easy is the day you lose yourself. Month 2, the first settlement. We found survivors, 30 people hiding in a reinforced warehouse running low on supplies and hope. Please, their leader, a middle-aged woman named Sarah, begged. We have children. If you can spare anything. Mom immediately started unpacking food. Mark, help me set up a cooking station. These people need hot meals. Dad didn't argue, just started hauling equipment. I watched my parents work, seeing them clearly for the first time. Mom wasn't just a cook. She was a natural organizer, delegating tasks, assessing needs, and creating order from chaos. Dad wasn't just strong. He was a protector who read people instantly, knowing who to trust and who to watch. Your parents are remarkable, Nix observed. Yeah, I said softly. They really are. We cleared the zombies around the warehouse, then taught Sarah's group basic combat. Nix was surprisingly good with children, patient and encouraging where I expected him to be stern. Do you have little siblings? A small boy asked, watching Nix's tails with wide eyes. No, Nix said gently, but I had parents once. They taught me that protecting the young is the highest honor. The boy beamed and hugged Nix's leg. I pretended not to see Nix's eyes get suspiciously shiny. Month 3, Cody's personality emerged. Master Bella, I have a complaint, Cody announced one morning. You can complain now? I have been developing preferences. Currently, I prefer efficiency. Your training schedule is inefficient. You rest too much. I'm human. I need sleep. Suboptimal design, Cody said, and I swear there was smugness in that digital voice. Nix laughed, actually laughed, and I realized Cody was teasing me. You have a sense of humor now? I have been observing your family dynamics. Humor appears to strengthen social bonds. Therefore, I am implementing humor protocols. Protocols, I muttered. Great, my magical system is becoming a comedian. But Cody was right about efficiency. He started analyzing my fights, giving real-time tactical advice. Zombie approaching from your 6. Use Windblade. Your fire will waste energy given current humidity levels. With Cody's guidance, my crystal core collection tripled. Month 4, the first ability users. We encountered them during a raid on a medical supply depot. 3 people with actual elemental powers, not borrowed strength like mine. They tried to rob us. Bad choice. The fire user launched flames at Mom. Dad stepped in front of her with a riot shield we'd found absorbing the blast. You dare threaten my wife? Dad's voice went cold in a way I'd never heard. He moved faster than I thought possible for someone without powers, shield bashing the fire user so hard the guy's teeth rattled. Mom, meanwhile, had pulled out a gun. When did she get a gun? And had it trained on the water user. I've been cooking for 40 years. You think I don't know how to handle sharp objects and dangerous heat sources? Drop it. The water user dropped his weapon. I just stared. Who are you people? Sweetie, your father was in the military before the restaurant, and I grew up in a very rough neighborhood. We just never needed those skills before. The third ability user, Earth Element, looked at me. You're Bella, the one clearing the north side? That's me. We heard you're building something, not a gang, something better. I looked at him, really looked. Exhausted, desperate, but not cruel, just scared. Join us, I said. Really join us. Work, contribute, protect people instead of robbing them. We have food, shelter, and purpose. He cried. They all did. That's how I learned my real power wasn't wind or earth. It was hope. Month 5. My parents' restaurant dreams. Bella, come here, Mom called one evening. I found my parents sketching plans on recycled paper. What's this? A restaurant, Dad said, eyes bright with old dreams. A real one. Once we've secured the area, we're opening again. Mom nodded enthusiastically. But bigger this time, multiple locations. Your father will handle logistics and security, and your mother will train chefs, Dad continued. We'll accept crystal cores as payment, create jobs, feed people, bring back normalcy. They were finishing each other's sentences, planning and dreaming like they had before the world ended. I hugged them both. I love you guys so much. We love you too, sweetie, Mom said. Now about the menu. Month 6. Evolution. By month 6, I could fight multiple zombies simultaneously, could sense ability users from 100 yards away, could combine wind and earth to create sandstorms that stripped flesh from bone. But more importantly, I'd learned to lead. Sarah's group had grown to 200 people. We had farmers, fighters, builders, and teachers, a real community. You're doing what I couldn't in a million years, Nick said one night. What's that? Making people believe in tomorrow. News of the massive zombie eradication spread through survivor networks. People whispered about the North City becoming safe again. Naturally, that's when the New Order gang decided to take over. They rolled in with their ability users, their kidnapped recruits, and their delusions of grandeur. They brought slaves, people they'd captured or who'd followed them out of sheer desperation. Anyone who didn't satisfy their demands became zombie food. They killed military personnel, police, and anyone who protested. They kidnapped underage girls for their entertainment. Boys, too. Fed everyone starvation rations while hoarding the good supplies. Used civilians as human shields during zombie hunts. Some of the prisoners managed to escape. A group of young people killed one of the gang members by shoving him into a zombie horde during a raid, then ran for their lives. They found us in the North Settlement. We took them in, fed them, gave them actual beds and clean water. They cried. A lot of them couldn't stop crying. By this point, my system's spring water could cure recent zombie bites, the kind that were just scratches or minor wounds. Not full bites, not advanced infections, but it was something. I'd also developed 2 elemental powers, wind and earth. How? Well, according to Nyx, I'd been chosen by dual celestial beings. Whatever that meant. I had the system giving me cheat codes and a supernatural fox who was apparently an apex predator from a dead planet. Also, Nyx was possibly kind of in love with me. I was trying very hard not to think about that. Chapter 10. One night, after a particularly brutal day of clearing zombies and fortifying walls, Nyx and I sat on a rooftop watching the stars. They were so bright now that most of the city's lights were gone. "Can I ask about your past?" I said carefully. He was quiet for a long moment. My parents were strong, leaders of our pack. They were killed by their own kind. A power struggle. I was young. I'm sorry. I consumed an immortal pill before they could finish me. I survived. For 1,000,000 years. I drifted alone after our planet was destroyed. His voice was even, but I heard the weight beneath it. A celestial god saved me, offered me a bargain. Help my master, and I could have a normal life again. You wanted a family. I craved one, but over such a vast period, I forgot how to be part of one. I bumped my shoulder against his. My parents kind of adopted you, you know. Mom makes you tea every morning, and Dad asks your opinion on defense strategies. I know. His voice went soft. I wake up afraid now, afraid that someone will harm them. Harm you. We're tougher than we look. Your parents are the strongest humans I've ever encountered. Not in power, but in will. They're pretty great, I agreed. We sat in comfortable silence. Nyx's hand somehow ended up near mine, not quite touching. I pretended not to notice. My parents definitely noticed. They watched us with knowing smiles, but never said anything. They just wanted us to be happy. That was enough. Chapter 11. The North Settlement grew. We cleared more territory, established farms, and organized defense rotations. I fought ability users who thought they could take control, beat them in fair combat, and then gave them jobs instead of executions. They were shocked. Kindness was rarer than fresh bread in the apocalypse. But we had fresh bread. Mom had organized a bakery with some of the refugees who used to be chefs. The smell of baking bread made people cry. I assigned people to real work: cleaning, food distribution, clothing production, and construction. We created a functioning society. People bowed to me not out of fear, but gratitude. They found purpose again. The air was cleaner, the nights were safer, and for the first time in 3 years, they could sleep without expecting to die. Then Chloe showed up. Chapter 12. She looked like a corpse when she arrived. Hollow-eyed, skeletal, barely standing. Her parents were worse. But when she saw me, she ran and hugged me so hard we both almost fell over. "You didn't die, you bitch! Oh, thank God you didn't die!" I was too stunned to respond. This was the girl who'd made my high school life hell, and she was crying into my shoulder. Guilt-delivered delirium was common in survivors. I gave them food, medicine, and a place to recover. Her parents kowtowed to me, literally prostrated themselves, refusing to get up no matter how much I asked. "We ran from the New Order gang," her father sobbed. They tried to... They wanted to hurt Chloe. She stayed dirty on purpose, not bathing, no matter how they threatened her. We only survived 6 months there. They were going to throw us to the zombies, so we ran. 2 weeks of walking on stale bread to get here. We heard this place was safe. I put them in our makeshift hospital. After a week of proper food and medical care, I gave them work assignments. Chloe found me immediately, running up for another hug. "What the hell happened to your head, you stinky bitch?" I said, trying to maintain my dignity. She hugged tighter. "I'm sorry, Bella." I hadn't expected that. You know it's not fine to bully people, right? And you can't just hug people mid-apology. She let go, but grabbed my hand instead. The New Order gang, they bullied us after taking everything. Food, clothes, medicine. They're not human, Bella. It made me realize how horrible I was to you. I wished I could go back and be your best friend instead. Take care of you the way I should have. I flicked her forehead. Hey, rebirth isn't free, you know? You have to earn it. And living here isn't free either. If you want my protection, prove you're worth it. Work hard, don't bully anyone. Deal? She wiped her tears. Okay, boss. We hugged again, and this time it felt genuine. I asked about our old classmates and teachers. Some were dead, some had joined gangs. Most of the survivors weren't doing well. The world was smaller now and crueler, but we were building something better. At least we were trying. Chapter 13. They came at dawn. 5 ability users, dozens of armed thugs, and Hank at the front. A man who'd walked out of prison when the world collapsed and decided the apocalypse was his personal playground. "Hand over Bella," he shouted at our gates. "Hand her over and we won't kill anyone else." Beside me on the wall, Nyx materialized in his full 9-tailed form, divine and terrifying. "Are you tired of living?" I stepped forward, wind lifting me off the ground until I hovered above the wall. Below, our people watched. Sarah, Chloe, the ability users we'd recruited, and my parents. All of them believed I could do this. No pressure. I locked eyes with Hank and launched a fireball directly at his carefully gelled hair. It caught instantly. He screamed and batted at the flames while his crew scrambled. "I know all about your crimes, Hank," I said, voice carrying on a wind current. "Kidnapping, murder, rape, enslavement. Just because it's the apocalypse doesn't give you the right to destroy people." "Get her!" Hank shrieked, his hair still smoking. The 5 ability users attacked simultaneously. The fire user, Chen. He came first, probably because Hank was still traumatized by burning hair. Chen was skilled, military background I guessed from his stance. He launched a concentrated stream of fire, hot enough that I felt my eyebrows singe. I raised an earth wall, but not just any wall. Cody's voice chimed in my head. Current temperature, 1800 degrees Celsius. Recommendation, limestone-rich earth will withstand heat longer. I pulled deeper, finding the mineral-dense soil Cody indicated. The wall held. Chen switched tactics, creating a ring of fire around me. Smart. Limited my mobility. "Bella," Mom's voice from below. "Remember the kitchen." The kitchen? Fire needs oxygen. I'd watched Mom control grease fires by starving them of air. I pulled wind inward, creating a vacuum. The fire ring sputtered and died. Chen's eyes widened. Before he could react, I flash froze the water sphere using wind to drop the temperature rapidly, then shattered it with a pressure burst. The ice shards flew at Marina. She created a water shield, but I'd already moved, using wind to launch myself forward, earth hardening my fist, and punching through her defense. She crumpled. "Science!" I shouted, probably too enthusiastically. Cody's voice was smug. Excellent application of thermodynamics, Master. The Earth user, Dimitri. He grinned at me. Big guy, confident. Finally, someone who speaks my language. The ground beneath me opened up. He was trying to swallow me whole. I reinforced my footing, but he was stronger, more experienced. I started sinking. Recommendation: use his strength against him, suggested Cody. How? Then I remembered, Earth isn't just dirt, it's everything. Minerals, crystals. The zombie cores were crystallized Earth element energy. I pulled a handful of cores from my space and crushed them, releasing pure Earth element energy. Then I channeled it all at once, overloading Dimitri's connection to the ground. His eyes rolled back. Too much energy, too fast, like forcing a river through a straw. He collapsed, twitching. "Sorry," I called. "That probably hurt." The wind user, Kira. She'd been waiting, watching me fight the others, learning my patterns. Smart. We circled each other in the air, wind versus wind. She struck first, a blade of compressed air that would have decapitated me if I hadn't rolled mid-flight. I countered with a gust, but she dispersed it. We traded blows for what felt like hours, but was probably minutes. Every attack I threw, she had a counter. Every defense she raised, I found a gap. We were too evenly matched. "Master Bella," Nyx's voice, "you're limiting yourself. You have two elements. Use them together." Fire and wind. I'd done that before. But what about earth and wind? I reached down, pulled up dust, sand, tiny particles of soil, and suspended them in a wind current. Then I accelerated the wind, creating a sandstorm with the abrasive power of industrial sandpaper. Kira threw up a wind barrier, but particles got through. Her skin reddened, her eyes watered. She couldn't see me anymore. I hit her with everything. Wind blast combined with fire, creating a heat wave that sent her flying into her own comrades in a smoking heap. I landed, breathing hard, bleeding from a dozen small cuts, my right arm aching from overuse, ribs bruised from impacts I'd barely blocked. But I was standing. They weren't. The entire battle had lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes that felt like 7 hours. Nyx was beside me instantly, tails wrapping around my shoulders in support. "You were magnificent." "I was terrified," I admitted. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing what's right despite it." Mom called from below, tears on her cheeks. Sarah and the others tied up the unconscious ability users. Hank, his hair now a singed mess, stared at me with something between fear and hatred. I floated down to stand in front of him. Every muscle screamed in protest, but I didn't let it show. "Here's your choice," I said quietly. "Reform and work for your redemption, or face execution. Nyx?" Nyx's smile was all teeth, his tails fanning out in a display that was equal parts beautiful and terrifying. "I would be absolutely delighted to assist with either option." The captured gang members looked at Nyx, then at me, then at the 5 elite ability users I'd just defeated. The fire user, Chen, spoke first, voice shaking. I'll work, please. I didn't want to join them. They forced me." "Liar!" Hank spat. "He's not lying," Dad said, stepping forward. He'd spent months reading people, knew survival from his military days. I can tell. "The others, though," he looked at Zhao and Marina, "they enjoyed it." Zhao met my eyes defiantly. Marina looked away. One by one, I gave them the choice. Chen, Dimitri, and Kira chose reform. Marina chose execution after laughing in my face and promising to kill me if I let her live. Zhao chose to run. We let her go. Gave her supplies, even. Sent her out the north gate with enough food for a week. She made it about 200 yards before the zombie horde we'd been tracking found her. We didn't intervene, just watched from the walls as natural consequences played out. Hank, faced with Nix's very enthusiastic willingness to provide permanent solutions, agreed to reform. I didn't trust him, not even a little. Hard labor, I decreed. Supervised constantly. No weapons, no privileges. Rebuild what you destroyed and maybe you earn a second chance. And if I refuse, Hank sneered. I smiled, and it wasn't kind. Then Nix gets creative. He's been alive for 1,000,000 years. Imagine what he's learned about making people regret their choices. Hank paled and agreed to the labor terms. That night, after treating my wounds and eating Mom's celebratory dumplings, I collapsed on the roof with Nix. I can't believe we won, I said. I never doubted you, Nix replied. Liar, I saw your face when the water user nearly drowned me. That was concern, not doubt. There's a difference. I laughed, then winced as my ribs protested. Everything hurts. Everything should. You fought 5 ability users and won. You're allowed to hurt. How encouraging. He pulled me close, careful of my injuries. You protected everyone today. Your people, your parents, your dream of something better. That's worth celebrating. Below us, the settlement buzzed with activity. People felt safe now. Really safe. We'd won more than a battle today. We'd won hope. Chapter 14. 2 weeks after the battle, Hank tried to escape during a zombie hunt. He thought he could use the horde as cover. He was wrong. We watched from a safe distance as natural consequences played out. It didn't take long. Chen, Dimitri, and Kira, the 3 who'd genuinely chosen reform, worked hard, really hard. Chen taught fire safety to our fighters, Dimitri helped with construction, Kira joined the aerial patrol. They'd earned their second chances. 1 year after we'd cleared the North City, 2 years after the world ended, I stood in front of our restaurant. It was beautiful. My parents had designed it, a blend of our old place's charm and new world practicality. Solar panels on the roof, rainwater collection systems, and a greenhouse attached to the back where space-grown vegetables flourished. The sign read, Chen's Haven, in characters Dad had carved himself, each stroke a love letter to the life they'd rebuilt. It's perfect, I breathed. Mom wiped her eyes. We never thought we'd do this again. We dreamed about it every single day in that shelter. Every time food rations got smaller, every time we heard screaming outside the walls, we planned this. Table arrangements, menu items, who would handle what. Dreaming kept us sane, Somi softly. And you made it real, sweetie. We opened the doors on a sunny morning. Word had spread. Chen's Haven accepted zombie crystal cores as currency. 1 core for a basic meal, 5 for premium dishes, 10 for the family feast special. People came from across the settlement and beyond. They came for Mom's dumplings, steamed to perfection with space-grown vegetables that tasted better than anything from the old world. For Dad's special noodles, hand-pulled with the patience of someone who'd spent months dreaming of making them again. For fresh vegetables and stir-fries that made people cry because they'd forgotten food could taste this good. But mostly, they came for the feeling of sitting at a real table with real plates, being served by people who smiled genuinely. The feeling of normalcy in an abnormal world. Sarah came with her kids, now healthy and laughing instead of hollow-eyed and scared. Miss Lisa, Mr. Mark, the dumplings are amazing. Call me Lisa, honey. We're all family here. Mom patted Sarah's hand, then slipped an extra dumpling onto her youngest son's plate when she thought no one was looking. I caught her eye. She winked. Chloe arrived with her parents, all 3 of them emotional. I can't believe you did this. A real restaurant with actual ambiance and everything. It was always the plan, I replied. World-ending zombie plague was just a minor detour. She laughed, then pulled me into a hug. Thank you for everything. Nix worked as head of security. though he spent suspicious amounts of time in the kitchen with Mom, learning her recipes with the intensity of a scholar studying ancient texts. The ratio of ginger to garlic must be precise, Mom was explaining, while Nix took actual notes in a leather-bound journal he'd found somewhere. Too much ginger and it overpowers the pork. Too much garlic and you lose the delicate balance. Understood. And the folding technique for the dumpling skin? Ah, that takes practice. Here, watch again. I leaned against the doorway, watching them. Nix had rolled up his sleeves, his usually immaculate appearance dusted with flour. He looked happy, peaceful, like he'd finally found where he belonged. "He's good for you," Dad said, appearing beside me with a tray of dirty dishes. "Dad!" "What? I have eyes. He looks at you like you hung the moon. Or just, it's complicated." "It's not that complicated, sweetie. He loves you, you love him. Everything else is just details." I groaned. "Can we not do this right now?" "When would you like to do it? After the wedding?" "Father!" He laughed and went back to greeting customers, his voice booming through the restaurant. "Welcome to Chen's Haven. Yes, we do accept cores as payment. Please sit anywhere you'd like." By evening, we'd served over 200 people. The restaurant buzzed with conversation, laughter, and the clink of chopsticks against bowls. Children played in the designated area we'd set up, their giggles a sound I'd feared I'd never hear again. Cody chimed in through the small speaker we'd set up. "Master Bella, inventory report, dumpling supplies at 40%, recommend restocking tomorrow. Also, the customer in Section 3 has been attempting to steal extra napkins for 10 minutes. "Just give them the napkins, Cody." "But the principal." "Cody." "Fine. Updating napkin distribution protocols." That night, after the last customer left and the dishes were washed, my parents, Nix, and I sat at a table in the empty restaurant. "To dreams," Dad raised his cup of space-grown tea. "To family," Mom added. "To survive the apocalypse and still have time for dumplings," I said. Nix smiled, his cup meeting ours. "To home." We drank, and for the first time in 2 years, the world felt almost right again. Over the next year, Chen's Haven expanded. 3 more locations across the settlement, each one managed by people we trusted. Sarah ran the second location. Chen, the reformed fire user, managed the third after proving himself reliable. Kira opened the fourth near the training grounds. Mom trained chefs like she was running a culinary academy, passing down recipes like sacred knowledge. Dad managed logistics with military precision, organizing supply runs and security details with equal efficiency. They thrived. And watching them thrive, seeing them laugh while cooking, seeing Dad dance Mom around the kitchen when he thought no one was watching, seeing them live instead of just survive, that was worth every zombie fought, every battle won, every difficult choice made. "You gave them back their dream," Nick said one evening, watching my parents through the restaurant window. "I gave them mine first. Everything I did for them." "I know. It's one of the things I love most about you." I looked at him, really looked. Flour still in his hair from helping Mom earlier, sleeves rolled up, that soft expression he only wore when he thought I wasn't paying attention. "Nix? Want to go somewhere?" "Where?" "The roof. Our spot." He smiled. "Always." Epilogue. 2 years later. The zombie population decreased by 60% over 2 years of systematic hunting. The air cleared. Plants grew wild in abandoned cities, reclaiming concrete with determined greenery. We built homes, established farms, and organized fishing expeditions. The North Settlement became a city again. Not like before, but something new, something better. Other regions sent delegations asking for help. I taught them about crystal core corruption, about sustainable hunting practices, about building communities instead of empires. I became president, not through conquest or force, but through election. People voted. I cried when they announced the results. Nix held my hand the entire time. We expanded Chen's Haven into a chain. 3 restaurants across the settlement, all serving Mom's recipes. Dad managed logistics with the efficiency of a military general. Cody never left. "I like it here," the system said one day. "It feels like home." "You're welcome to stay, though maybe we should upgrade your hologram. The blue screen is very retro." "I prefer classic aesthetics." "Of course you do." Nix and I got married in the restaurant, surrounded by family, blood and chosen. Chloe was my maid of honor and cried through the entire ceremony. "You're such a sap," I whispered. "Shut up, you're crying too." "I'm the bride, I'm allowed." Mom officiated, because of course she did. In the New World, anyone could perform marriages. Traditional authority had collapsed, and we'd rebuilt it on trust instead of paperwork. "Do you, Bella Chen, take this ancient fox spirit to be your husband, even though he eats more mangoes than any being should reasonably consume?" "I do," I laughed through tears. "And do you, Nix of the Nine Tails, take this stubborn, brilliant girl to be your wife, even though she still can't make a proper cup of tea?" "Hey!" I protested. Nix's eyes were soft. "I do. Absolutely." Then, by the power vested in me by literally everyone here, who will be very upset if I mess this up, I pronounce you husband and wife. Kiss already. We did. The entire settlement erupted in cheers. Someone set off fireworks, actual fireworks that we'd found in an abandoned warehouse and saved for a special occasion. They bloomed across the darkening sky in gold and silver starbursts. Dad ugly cried into his handkerchief. Mom handed him another one without looking away from us. The reception lasted until dawn. People danced in the streets, music playing from salvaged speakers. We served a feast, real food, abundant and delicious, roasted meats, fresh vegetables, and fruit platters that would have been impossible a year ago. I watched from Nix's arms as our people celebrated. Our family, our community. "Regrets?" Nix murmured against my hair. "Only that I didn't kiss you sooner." "We had an apocalypse to survive." Fair point. 5 years after the fall. The world didn't go back to what it was. It became something different. 70% of the zombie population was eliminated through coordinated continental efforts. The remaining 30% migrated to remote areas, drawn away from human settlements by some instinct we didn't fully understand. Scientists, the ones who'd survived, theorized the virus was evolving, becoming less aggressive, or maybe the zombies were just running out of easy prey. Either way, humanity had breathing room. The North Settlement became North Haven City, population 50,000 and growing. We had electricity from solar and wind farms, running water from purified systems, and schools where children learned both Old World knowledge and New World survival. Chloe ran the education department. She was fierce about it, too. Every child got equal access to learning, rich or poor. Former bullies made the best advocates, apparently. "I have a lot to make up for. Might as well start with the next generation," she told me once. The restaurant chain expanded to 12 locations. Mom trained chefs, passing down recipes like sacred texts. Dad managed logistics with the efficiency of a military general. They were happy. That's all I'd ever wanted. My presidential duties were, well, presidential. Lots of meetings, diplomatic negotiations with other settlements, and resource management. I'd created a council system, no more single leaders with absolute power. We'd learned that lesson the hard way. Nick served as head of defense and, inexplicably, as my chief diplomatic advisor. Turned out that 1,000,000 years of life experience made him excellent at negotiations. "People trust someone who's clearly non-human," he explained. "They assume I have no political agenda." "Do you?" "Only to keep you safe and ensure a steady supply of space-grown mangoes." Priorities. Indeed. The settlement's orphans had somehow become our unofficial responsibility. They called our house Auntie Bella's and showed up at random times for food, advice, or just company. Nix taught them self-defense. I helped with homework. We were the weird aunt and uncle who had battle stories instead of boring office jobs. And then, 3 years after our wedding, I got pregnant. That's not possible, I said, staring at the test results. Nix looked equally stunned. The immortality pill I consumed millennia ago, I never considered. You're telling me an ancient magical pill made you compatible with human reproduction? Apparently so. We stared at each other. Then I started laughing. Of course! Of course this is my life. Zombie apocalypse, magical fox husband, and now mystery babies. Babies? Nix's voice went up an octave. Plural? The doctor confirmed it a week later. Triplets. Mom screamed with joy so loudly that half the settlement came running, thinking we were under attack. The pregnancy was interesting. The babies developed faster than normal, not alarmingly so, but noticeably. By month 7, I was ready to deliver. The space's spring water helped with everything, from morning sickness to labor pains. Our daughters were born on a clear spring morning, Aurora, Celine, and Lyra. They were perfect, tiny humanoid forms with the softest fox ears I'd ever seen, and 9 delicate tails each, just like their father. Their eyes opened immediately, bright, intelligent, curious. 9 tails, I breathed. All 3 of them. Nix's eyes were suspiciously shiny. They inherited the full bloodline. They're true celestial foxes. They're beautiful, Mom whispered as she held Aurora. They have your stubbornness already, Dad said, watching Celine grab his finger with surprising strength. Nix held Lyra with such reverence, such overwhelming love, that I fell in love with him all over again. My family, he breathed. My actual family. That night, after the girls were asleep and my parents had finally gone to rest, Nix came to me with an expression I couldn't read. Bella, I need to tell you something. The immortality pill's power, it's transferred. My heart stopped. Transferred where? To our daughters. All 3 of them. They'll live as celestial foxes do, for millennia if they choose. He took my hands. But that's not all. When they were born, I felt the connection. The pill's essence divided through my inner channels. It flowed to them, yes, but also... Also? Also to you, through our bond, through the life we created together. His voice was soft, wondering. Your lifespan is now connected to mine, Bella. We share the same thread of life now. I tried to process that. So we'll both live a mortal lifetime together. However long that may be, whether it's decades or a century, we'll walk every step of it side by side. We'll age together, grow old together, and when our time comes, we'll face it together. Tears started falling before I even realized I was crying. Together. All of it. Every moment, every season, every year. However many were given. I kissed him, tasting salt from both our tears. That's more than I ever dreamed of. Our daughters will outlive us by millennia, he said quietly. They'll carry our legacy long after we're gone. I looked at our sleeping girls, Aurora with her peaceful expression, Celine already smiling in her sleep, Lyra with one tiny fist curled near her face, each with 9 perfect white tails. Then we'd better make every moment count, I said. Teach them everything, love them fiercely, build something worth remembering. Always, Nix promised. The girls grew quickly, walking by 6 months, talking by 1 year. They had Nix's grace and my stubbornness. Aurora loved books, Celine loved fighting, and Lyra loved everyone indiscriminately and would hug strangers until they submitted to her affection. They also had powers. All 3 elements flowed through them naturally: fire, earth, wind, plus abilities we didn't fully understand yet. Celine once accidentally turned invisible during hide and seek and stayed that way for 3 hours. They're going to be trouble, I told Nix. They're going to be magnificent, he corrected. Cody upgraded to level 50 and achieved full sentience, immediately declaring himself the girl's godfather and arguing with Nix about proper tail grooming techniques. Their tails require 17 brushstrokes in a specific pattern. 16 is sufficient, Cody. You're their father, not their stylist. I am a nine-tailed celestial fox. I think I know proper tail maintenance. I laughed until my sides hurt, watching a cosmic system entity argue grooming standards with my ancient fox husband, while our three daughters giggled and tried to braid their tails together. The zombie virus slowly died out. Scientists developed a cure from the space's spring water. Humanity rebuilt. Different cities, different governments, learning from old mistakes. It wasn't perfect, nothing ever is, but it was better. 15 years after the fall. I stood on the same rooftop where Nix and I had first kissed, watching the sunset paint the sky in oranges and purples. The city sprawled below, larger now, more organized, alive with the sounds of commerce and conversation. Three giggling voices approached from behind, and I didn't need to turn to know who it was. "Mama, dinner says that rice is ready, but Lyra turned the rice invisible again," Aurora complained. "I didn't mean to," Lyra protested. "It just happened. Can we eat invisible rice? That's a philosophical question." I laughed, turning to see my daughters, 12 years old now, beautiful and wild and everything I could have hoped for. Their ears twitched in the evening breeze, 9 tails swishing with preteen impatience. 9 tails each, just like their father, the mark of true celestial foxes. "Let's go see what your father did about it," I said, herding them toward the stairs. Nix met us at the bottom, covered in flour and looking harried. "I made backup noodles. The rice situation is ongoing." "Told you Lyra needed more control training," Aurora said smugly. "Nobody likes a know-it-all," Celine shot back. "Girls," Nick said in that tone that meant behave or no dessert. They settled immediately. He'd gotten good at the dad voice. Dinner was chaotic and perfect. Mom's dumplings, Nix's surprisingly good noodles, Dad's stories that made the girls howl with laughter. Cody manifested a holographic form just to argue with Celine about proper fighting stances. "Your tail position is completely wrong for that kick." "Godfather Cody, you don't even have tails." "I have observed 17,000 tail-based combat maneuvers. I am an expert by proxy." The orphans we'd taken over the years, now young adults, dropped by with their own families. The house overflowed with noise and love and the smell of good food. After everyone left and the girls were finally asleep, Aurora reading under her covers with a flashlight, Celine practicing invisible techniques in her dreams, Lyra sprawled across her bed with her 9 tails everywhere. Nix and I returned to the rooftop. "Thinking deep thoughts?" he asked, settling beside me. "Thinking about a scared 16-year-old who bought a jade bracelet from a ghost. She was brave even then. She was terrified. Bravery and terror often coexist, my love." His arms circled my waist, warm and solid and real. "Do you ever regret it? Everything that came after?" I looked at our city, thriving, peaceful, home to 50,000 people who'd found safety here. I thought about my parents, happy and healthy, about Chloe running the best system school in the region, about the restaurant empire we'd built. I thought about Nix, his immortality transformed and shared through his inner channels to our daughters and to me. Our lifespans are bound together now, however long that might be. Not forever, but ours to share. "Not even once," I said. "You?" "Never." He pulled me closer. "A lifetime with you, however long or short, is worth more than an eternity alone." Sappy fox. Stubborn human. We kissed, soft and familiar, as the stars emerged above us. Down below, the restaurant's lights flickered on. Mom's cooking scented the air. The city hummed with life. People who'd survived the apocalypse and built something better from the ashes. The old woman who'd sold me the bracelet never appeared again, but sometimes I felt her presence, like a warm smile from somewhere beyond, satisfied that her gamble on a poor scholarship student had paid off. "Thank you," I whispered to the wind, "for everything." Nix's tails wrapped around us both, and somewhere in the house, Lyra sleep-talked about mangoes, while Celine's snoring could probably wake the dead. Ironic, considering. And Aurora was definitely still reading. This was my life now. City president, restaurant dynasty co-owner, wife to a celestial fox, mother to 3 impossible daughters with 9 tails each, guardian of a sentient space system, and the girl who'd helped rebuild the world. A lifetime to live it all, a lifetime with my family, however long that turned out to be. Not bad for someone who just wanted to expand her parents' small restaurant. I smiled, kissed Nix once more, and headed inside. Our daughters would be awake early, demanding breakfast and causing chaos with their 9 tails getting tangled in everything. I couldn't wait. The world had ended once. We'd built it back better. And honestly, I wouldn't change a single thing. The end. Hey everyone! Thank you for reading the whole story. I had so much fun writing it, and I hope you enjoyed it too. Comment below and let me know which part you liked best or what you didn't like. I especially loved writing the part where Nix appeared, making their life smoother, and their 3 daughters. If this story gets good views, I'd love to write more about Aurora, Celine, and Lyra's adventures. Have a great day!